Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Fanimail, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time, then talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about the Animorphs TV series, episode 20, which is called Face Off Part 2. If you didn't listen to our, we'll call it a seminal episode, the beginning of a three-part mega arc that was Face Off Part 1, you can go back and listen to that from last week. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden. Apparently my voice sounds really nice today.
As opposed to normally where it sounds like sort of a personified mosquito.
It's as if nails on a chalkboard grew a mouth.
You know, I played a mosquito once in a high school theater, and it really was the role I was born for.
Yeah.
You've been chasing that high ever since.
We are joined once again, of course, by Jared.
I have returned. You can't keep me away now. I don't care what you say.
You're just here to talk more about Iberico ham.
No, we're not talking about that anymore. I have yet to hear a consensus from our listeners whether or not they've ever heard of it.
All right, I will now go through the steps required to prepare a jamon iberico ham at great length.
This is now a cooking show because it's better than talking about Face Off Part 2.
The highest form of cooking we talk about here is crackers, and you know that for fuck's sake, Jared.
This is true.
And that's a cracker fact.
Cracker fact.
Before we get into the plot breakdown, let's do some...
Fanimail! Ooh, yeah! Fanimail! Ooh, yeah!
For real, though, at Dork-Bajir, the now classic Night Fury and Bright Fury and protagonist of How to Train Your Dragon meme of the Night Fury, Toothless and Girl Toothless and protagonist. Toothless is doing like a wacky dance, and it says, "My collection of Animorphs memes." The Bright Fury is labeled "My friends and coworkers," and then protagonist is Dork-Bajir Chronicles podcast, which is pretty much 100%. That's
Who is that tweet from, Braden?
That is from Andrew Vila. Did we not mention that yet?
You did not.
Shinna Duggan sends to us on Facebook, "Listening to other adults discuss Animorphs makes me feel better about my love of it. Very funny and good." Oh, thanks.
I really appreciate the sentiment, especially after... Let me pull up the screenshot.
Considering any of us to be adults is pretty hilarious.
I think that's just because you're sitting in your underwear. The rest of us are normally dressed for podcasting.
Can anybody else vouch for that? Anybody else?
I'm wearing some clothes.
If I know anything about Braden,
He's just got a tube sock over one specific area, and that's it.
that is it.
I just am wearing one tube sock on my foot.
It's how you stay the perfect amount of both hot and cold.
Okay, so onwards and upwards, or downwards, I guess in this case. This episode is called Face Off Part 2. It is directed by Graham Lynch, once again. The writer is Mike Wolliger and Jessica Scott, which I believe were the writers for last week's, and probably the writers for next week's.
Of course, they got to keep that consistency.
Let's talk about this for a second, because this was released February 16th, 1999. Face Off Part 3 was released September 3rd, 1999. So we're looking at like a 7-month cliffhanger at the end of this episode.
More than long enough.
Kidding.
That is like in 2019 times, that is like the Game of Thrones 7 to 8 gap right there.
Absolutely. The only difference is people remembered and rewatched what happened in Game of Thrones. I'm sure fucking nobody gave a shit about this and was incredibly confused when the new season started.
This new show is starting off really weird. I don't know what's happening.
They could just read the books if they wanted to catch up.
Yeah, but the books are totally different.
Yeah, they are.
In this one especially. Like, the stuff that happens in this one is...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first 100% original book. There are a couple of things that are like big moments from the book, but they are completely changed context-wise.
Well, there was that one where Jake went back in time to before, so he didn't get the powers. Remember that one? The Elemist did it?
There's a couple that are completely 100%. Like, Axe's whole journey with the leather jacket is his own thing.
Yeah, okay.
Right, when Axe cock-blocked himself, yeah.
Jared, why don't you slap that summary on me?
Oh, if I must. When we finished off last episode, Jake was hiding in, not the Yeerk pool, but the Yeerk area. Hiding.
Whole, I think they call the Yeerk pool the whole underground
Is
bunker.
it not just specifically the pool?
It might be. No, I think they kind of refer to it like the whole
The Yeerk
bunker.
lair.
There you go.
He's hiding in the Yeerk lair. He crawls his way back out, and he sees Tom, real Tom, not controller Tom, hidden behind a laser cell door. And he's like, that's the Tom I know. So he somehow sneaks into the vents. I don't know how he does that. But he, whispers to Tom. And this time I was just like, Jake, you gotta shut the fuck up, man. Like, you're not gonna do yourself any favors here. He calls out to Tom, and Tom's like, what was that? And we meet, I think for the first time, this person.
We meet Anne.
Am I totally missing something?
She's a random lady who's in the cell with Tom. That's it, yeah.
Okay, because we haven't seen her before.
No,
okay, good. I thought I was having a fucking aneurysm.
No, that's just because you were watching the show.
I was like, is this another Animorph that I have not paid attention to?
They just want to insinuate that Tom, don't worry about Tom. He gets laid. Don't worry, guys. He may be a Yeerk, but in those 10 minutes at a time that he's free, he pulls.
What better way to get laid than when you're the only two human survivors when the aliens conquer the planet? Am I right?
So Tom and Anne have this conversation where she's like, I give up. He's like, no, we're fighters. I respect myself. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I respect myself too much to not yell at the controllers.
Behind his back. Because the controller, at one point, Tom is just chirping these dudes, one of the controllers, and he's like, if you say it again, it won't go unpunished. And he just stares at him for a sec. The controller walks away, and then he's like, bitch! I'm like, dude, you couldn't have said it to his face? Spit on his shoe? Something ballsy?
No.
You had to wait until he walked away and was down the stairs and around the corner. Yeah. Tom, you little bitch. I'm getting too into this show, guys.
Oh, no! Next thing you know, you'll be writing your own fan fiction of how it should have ended.
No, it's just gonna be a full tweet of, just calling Tom a bitch.
I want to see that, how it should have ended. I want to see how it should have ended I want to see the 1 week where Marvel or Fox or nobody releases a movie and it's just well, what do we do here at How It Should Have Ended Incorporated? I've heard people talk about Animorphs within the last week. Roll it out.
Done.
Where are we?
Oh, yeah. Tom decides that he's gonna just be a big man and chirp at the controller behind his back. They then pull him out, and they're gonna throw him in the Yeerk pool again. And he, does the most slapstick fucking, Three Stooges ass fall into the Yeerk pool.
It's ridiculous. These two controllers just throw him in and he flops around in the water and then comes out saying, my host gets angry? What? Is that how you infest people?
And also, how fucking fast was that Yeerk moving? Because he was in that pool for 10 seconds.
Haven't they established that, haven't they shown that they just, hold their faces down to the pool?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely shown that in the show.
Was that actually Tom who just to be a dingus threw himself in there just so when his Yeerk came into his ear, he would be wet and uncomfortable for a bit?
I think that's the idea.
I thought it was I thought Tom was trying to fight his way out and then slipped and fell.
Yeah, that makes it more hilarious.
Because then they were because that's kind of makes sense when he popped when Controller Tom pops up, and he's like, I told you he's hostile or a bitch. I don't know, whatever he is.
One of the two.
I told you he's a hostile little bitch.
Okay, so we cut back to the game after that, I think.
Oh, yeah, more fucking cheerleaders.
And now, because at the end of the last episode, Tobias was outside getting the disc from Chapman, and Rachel went out to be with Tobias. So the only people at this game are Marco, Cassie, and Axe. And they are not enjoying the game.
They're trying to figure out, they're like, where's Cassie, where's Jake, what's going on? Hibbity hoobla.
For the fact that it's like the biggest game of the season, there's like 12 people there.
There's so few people here.
What are the chances every one of these sets in this 3 sets of episodes are actually just the gymnasium but filled with rocks?
Then this is the scene with the fake, or is it fake, tornado warning?
Yeah, this is building up to that fake tornado warning.
At the beginning of the last episode, it was like, oh, there's a weather warning because there's a big storm coming in. So, and that was like, oh no, wait, I think he does say...
It's totally fake because this is the only way...
No, you say
this
what
is the way they get them
you
into
say
the basement.
exactly what I'm about to say, but louder and on top of me.
I'm sorry, Mikhail.
Okay.
What were they gonna do in the cell again?
They say that they have a video record or an audio recording for them from the radio, but it's like, why would they have that unless it was fake?
But also at the same time, when we cut back to Rachel and Tobias outside, it's windy as fuck.
I think there is a storm, but they came up with the idea of the tornado warning because it was plausible, because it was storming already, right? Like the tornado is fake, but the weather is, the weather is already rainy and kind of gross, so that it's believable for all of these preteens when they tell them to go to the creepy basement.
I also think that, like, this is a stupidly nitpicky thing, but like, I guess the show doesn't really say it that much, but we know that the Animorphs live in a town that's coastal, and I'm pretty sure coastal towns don't get tornadoes. That's like a flatlands thing.
Yeah.
Tsunami!
Anyways, these are just kids. They're not smart enough to know the difference. But anyways, we get this awesome scene outside after that where Rachel kind of like tells Tobias he's an idiot.
And also, like, Rachel is so incredibly horny.
Yeah.
It is.
She isn't. The first thing she looks at is
unsettling.
The first thing she looks at is Tobias's boy, like, chest and whole body, and she just stares and talks to.
And you see her like squeezing his arms and.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best acting this actress has done. I wholeheartedly believe that this was like a genuine moment of like, oh, thank God they're having me act with a human again
instead of a bird. Yeah.
Thank God they're having me lust for a human person again.
I don't have to pretend.
Oh, thank God I don't have to look at a hawk with unchecked lust.
She kind of tells him like, oh, you're not going to stay as a human? Oh, really? In a way that's sort of like pretty negative, actually.
And I'm kind of with Rachel at this point. I'd be like, you know what, dog? You could probably get just as much done as a human.
Then I'm still of the belief that Tobias made the right call. Being stuck as a hawk and being able to morph human a little bit, it's way easier to survive as a hawk than to try and survive as a homeless teenage boy.
He doesn't have to be homeless.
He does, because the Yeerks know his parents.
Here's the thing, though. In the books, and I don't want to keep talking about the books, but in the books, he's like abused by his aunt and uncle who keep shipping him back and forth and neglect him and don't feed him and shit. In the TV show, it's like he has an awesome bedroom. His aunt is like super nice to him. There would be no problem at all going back to that life.
Well, she's super nice to him, but she also calls him Toby.
Oh, what a bitch. Yeah.
I think the real reason
so
they got...
hawk life is the life for me, bud.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody was calling you Jer the whole time, you'd probably ship up and live in the woods.
Yep.
I think the real reason they got Tobias to be a human for this whole bit is because, as we know, the TV's production budget is $20, and they spent $18 on cobwebs. And it's $5 to rent a hawk, so no hawk for right now. But we got all these cobwebs to wrap our brand new screaming Cadrona-less Yeerks in.
Good lord. So yeah, they come up with the idea of the tornado warning to like hurt everybody in the basement, which nobody seems worried about. A, either the tornado, or B, the fact that they're being lowered into this like fucking cave system underneath their high school.
As a guy who comes from an unspecified area where tornado warnings were rather common, 80% of the time it turns out to be nothing. So like shuffling from your like the first floor of your school down to the basement real quick is just like pretty run of the mill.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, I'll give them that.
And also, like, an authority figure told them,
actually, I have facts to tell you.
Also, did your basement of your school look like this basement? Because
Exactly. Did they have a system of caves underneath your school?
with like the kids can literally see a laser grid prison wall, and they're fine.
And they're like, line up over here, and we're gonna take you behind this plastic sheet.
We'll just go one by one. We're gonna leave you unguarded. Don't move.
Okay, you got me there.
Like, what the fuck is this school?
Like, I know kids are gonna follow like what their principal tells them to do, but up to a point, right? Come on.
Like, I was pretty fucking nonchalant back in school, and I still be like, guys, anybody else find this a little uncomfortable?
and they have that weird mood lighting everywhere. It's like, why do they have different colored lights? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
This is also, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. What happens next? There's some Jake plotline happening also.
He is morphing a lizard to be like, I gotta get out of the Yeerk pool. Oh, first, because Rachel and Tobias are still like grinding, getting horny, and then they're like, we gotta break in and save everybody. I've got the disc. He makes Rachel touch the disc.
Yeah.
And is just like, and she's like, okay. And then he's like, now you can morph a controller. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then we cut to, like, that's not how can she acquire something without knowing that she's acquiring
He
it?
said inside the disc is the DNA of a Yeerk. And it's like,
That's also, like, what?
When did that happen? Because did Tom not say last episode that the disc contains the DNA of a fucking Andalite?
No, it's the disc is cued to the DNA of an Andalite, part of Alfanger's bloodline. So that they can.
So that
unlock
still
it.
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. This disc.
Probably contains a number of different morphs that would be effective that wouldn't be easily acquired by individuals on Earth. Because, like, maybe this is looking too far into the future, and maybe this isn't even something that they address in the series, but we know that Elfangor has seen this coming for years. He literally has time travel on his side to know, like, eventually these Yeerks are going to take interest in Earth. So, he put together a number of morphs in some sort of pseudo-digital format to give to individuals on Earth. And it happens to include his own human son.
See, this is why you need to hire Braden, whoever the fuck wrote this show.
I was expecting a lot of things from the recording tonight. What I wasn't expecting was Braden to be an apologist for everything in this episode.
I think Brayden has drunk the Yeerk pool juice and is like now on the side of Team TV show. Is I think what's happened.
Maybe it's all those threats you keep emailing him, Tessa, about taking it seriously.
Yes, they finally have convinced him.
Mind you, they're all pretty good points.
Oh yeah, so now after Rachel touches the disc and gets a Yeerk, Jake is a lizard and gets captured.
Yeah, they trap Jake because they realize that there is an Andalite in there. He's like, oh, he's gonna figure out his way out. So they trap him in this just room.
This huge room.
And there's just 4 minutes of dialogue between Tom and a lizard.
Where he's yelling at the lizard.
And, like, it just keeps cutting back to the lizard just walking. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, the lizard is probably fucking terrified.
I know. Because we know this is a movie.
It's just in a spotlight over a grate.
Like, that's not where you keep a lizard.
No. And I don't even know what the fuck Tom says at this point. I think he's just like, we're gonna win for like 20 minutes.
It's up to you. You're gonna lose. We're gonna win.
I believe he also talks about how this is he talks about like the new Yeerks and how the Yeerks' dependence on the Kandrona is the Yeerks' only weakness.
Other than the fact that they're fucking slugs.
Well, yeah, and in my mind, it's like the fact that you think you need host bodies is actually your biggest weakness. Because you're going to lose like tons of your own people for literally no reason. They have never once said that Yeerks like can't live without hosts. It's literally just greed is the only reason that they need hosts. God.
All right, yeah, if they think that's their only weakness, good for them.
Also, probably very few people have read them because of the Patreon. Okay.
Okay, so after this, Tobias sneaks into the Yeerk pool.
Oh, yeah, and he comes across another controller. He's like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm here to get reinfested.
And they're like, Visser 3 said no one can be in here.
Well, Visser 1 said I'm here, bitch.
And it's like, that's the Yeerk equivalent of just walking around with a tie and a clipboard. If you just say a Visser sent you can get anywhere.
Okay, totally not related to anything, but you guys hear about some dude in, like, Mexico who convinced, like, 7 different KFCs that he was from, like, head office and needed to do, like, quality control? So he got, like, free KFC from 7 different KFCs for about 6 months.
Yeah, that's amazing. Guy's a hero.
And the only thing I was thinking was, that is so much work to get free KFC.
That's because you don't like KFC.
Okay, Tobias gets away with his fucking fake credentials.
Yeah, because it turns out, I don't know about you guys, I didn't get this when they were talking before, but Rachel morphed a Yeerk.
Yep.
And then went inside Tobias's head.
Yep.
Which, because he pulls out a scanner to make sure that he's a human and a Yeerk, and the scanner glows green. So.
And like,
yeah,
as much shit as I give this show, that ain't a terrible idea.
No, that's a great plan. And like Brayden was saying, that's actually what they did in book 29. But it was Cassie who did that to somebody else in a completely different context.
It was a lot better than this by quite a large margin.
I mean, also, Cassie didn't freak out for no reason. And
almost explode Tobias's fucking head.
But that's next week. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
But yeah, Tobias like worms his way past one controller. He gets to another controller, and he's essentially just like he's like, "There's a fight upstairs, and you're bigger than me. You should go handle that." He's like, "Okay, there's an Andalite in there. Watch out!" And then he fucks off.
He's the most helpful Yeerk. He's like Chris Farley in Wayne's World.
He's exactly like Chris Farley in Wayne's World. It seemed extraneous at the time.
The guy that he approaches also has a pretty sweet earring. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yes!
Ooh, that is peak 1999.
Yeah, it's a good, like, Backstreet Boys gold ring, but, like, clearly no one could fucking pull that out. It's like a pirate earring at this point. Nobody's wearing that.
My neck made this noise as it, like, shot away from my body as I was like, is that a Backstreet Boy?
Okay, what happens next? I think
next
is when Tobias goes up to the
the door, and it's like, he's just like, Jake, it's me and Rachel. I'm like, yell it a little goddamn louder, man.
But the cell is the cell is yell proof, so Rachel has to thought speak.
Which is also like, wasn't Tom talking to Jake through the wall?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he was.
Also, why doesn't Jake just morph something so he can thought speak?
Right. Or escape. Like, it looks like what we know from the Yeerks is that they're not very good at keeping things prisoner. There's probably a great big hole that you could just crawl out of.
There's a poster on the wall, Shawshank Redemption style, perfectly taut. You can pierce it with a rock, but there's a giant hole leading to the outside.
Yeah.
Fuck, what happens?
Then we cut back to the bully who blocks the school door Because, at the beginning, Jake, Cassie, and Axe and Marco are at the basketball game, and, like, where are everybody else? Let's go outside and see if we can find Rachel. And this school bully-looking, denim-wearing motherfucker is like, no, stay inside. Chapman's orders. And so he then leads them to the locker room.
He also says Principal Chapman, which, promotion? Like, he's the vice principal. Who is the script supervisor on this show? Okay.
Yeah. It just happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The promotion.
Off camera, he was promoted to principal.
But there's like a tiny little scene where Cassie and Axe and Marco discuss information that the audience now knows is wrong, and that they're operating on like stuff from 15 minutes ago.
This happens so fucking often in the show, and it drives me insane.
Especially this arc. Like, we had Jake sneak into the locker room to look for the disc, and then we also had Rachel and Cassie. Like, why? Are you trying to pad a 30-minute show?
20 minutes, because the freaking, like, the recap of this show plus the intro is 3.5 goddamn minutes long.
Yeah.
Without advertisements, yeah, it's already more like 20, so with everything else, this is more like a 15-minute show.
And they can't figure out how to, like, stretch a story 15 goddamn minutes?
The answer is no, they don't, because they clearly did not read the books. They read like they read the blurb on the back of the books and were like, we can do better.
No, they didn't even read the blurb. They just read the little teaser that's on the covers.
The taglines, yeah.
The taglines.
They looked at it, they looked at the covers and went, I've got the gist of this, and went from there.
And those taglines, Jared, for your information, are like, change is coming. Like, they're not specific in any way, shape, or form.
Sometimes you have to, there's more than one way to change your mind.
Yeah.
Or like,
a lot of change puns, for sure.
It's a lot of change puns.
Or wordplay, I guess. I don't know. Anyways.
Going through changes.
Changes.
What happens?
The Cassie and Marco and Axe get led into the basement through the locker room.
And still, nobody is freaking out yet.
There's a laser there's literally a laser grid. We can see the lasers.
Directly in front of them. Directly in front of them. If they walked 60 feet, they would walk through lasers and die.
There's also an extra standing in front of the three of them that looks like her direction was like, pretend you're not alive. You're just like staring so deathly silent and quiet.
You are death personified. Stand there. But they see Tobias standing there, and like the first thing Marco says is, how'd he get here? Not, holy fuck, he's a human again. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, he's just like, how'd Tobias get downstairs?
It's like, that's your fucking question, you big idiot?
Well, and then Marco is like, he's directing people into that tunnel. Aw, man, he's a controller. Fuck you, Tobias.
He sold us out to get his human form back. I'm like, that's not how any of this shit works. Even I know that.
The funny thing is, I think they're trying to sell Marco as like this clever guy who like sees beneath the surface, but like every time he's ever made an observation, he's just been like wrong in the show.
And wrong in a really dumb way. Like, the audience already knows what happened to Tobias, so this is again a thing where Marco's like,
this is like literally the only thing this does for the audience is make us go, Marco, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Marco then like slips away to go confront Tobias. We then cut to Tom and Mr. 3 having a conversation. Well,
over Skype.
Conversation, I guess. He's essentially just like, well, I have some good news. He's like, have you unlocked the disc yet? He's like, no. But he's like, call me back when you unlock the disc. And he hangs up.
Didn't even want to learn about, like, the
we have an Andalite. Cool. Does the Andalite know how to open the disc? No. Then fuck off.
He's like, Tom is actually like, Visser 3, I wanted you to be there so you could watch the Andalite get infested, because I know it would make you horny. And Visser 3 is like, I literally don't care about that. Did you unlock the disc? It explains everything. It has Yeerk DNA on it.
Tom then finds out that he doesn't have the disc anymore, which took so goddamn long.
Yeah.
For him to figure out that he doesn't have the disc.
Because then, there were so many weird plots, right? Because then Chapman goes up to the window and realizes he doesn't have the disc out there either.
Yeah.
And it's, and then Tobias pulls out the disc and shows Marco, I promise, I'm I'm not a controller. And Rachel, in thought speak, is like, I'm a Yeerk. And Marco makes a bunch of jokes about it.
Not one of them is a Yeerking off joke, so I'm disappointed in that. What happens next? Oh, they take Cassie and Axe to the fucking giant plastic tarp that nobody's concerned about except me.
At one point, they do mention, why are these controllers carrying those bags around? And by bags, they mean long strand of cotton spiderweb.
That are apparently filled with more Yeerks.
I guess they're bags. Like, I just would have called them random trash.
Why is that person carrying a bundle of shit?
That's why the kids think they're letting them in one at a time. Oh, apparently they were just keeping trash in this room. They have to carry it out to make room for us.
The controller tries to escort Cassie and Axe away, and Axe is like, don't hurt her, and then Axe is immediately wrapped up.
This controller picks up these two teenagers like one might pick up a wienered dog, just like around the middle, whoop, here you go, bundling you away. Like, this man isn't even that much bigger than Axe, and Axe immediately gives up the fight and gets escorted off.
It seemed like he could have like wrapped their arm behind their back or grabbed them by the neck or something, but he holds them like you'd hold like a toddler around their stomachs.
Yeah, or like you know when you sneak up behind a friend of yours, you like throw your arm around him and kind of bring him down. Like he basically did that.
Don't do that. What?
You should.
Jared, watch your fucking back then, because.
We then cut to Tom, who's deciding that he's got the fucking look in his eyes, like, I'm gonna fuck up this Andalite. And the dude behind him has this fucking Dr. Seuss looking vacuum.
Yeah. I forgot about that part. He starts yelling at Jake in the cage, like, come on, Andalite, we're coming in here.
Like, if you take one of your cowardly forms, you'll be immediately sucked up. And I looked behind him, and there's this fucking, like, Cat in the Hat looking vacuum.
Like, my immediate thought was like, okay, morph a bear.
Yeah,
That's exactly
like,
what
really.
I said. Like,
legit quote from Jared is like, why would you morph some weak, cowardly form when you can morph a black bear and eat them?
Like, just bash Tom out of the way, eat the rest of the dudes, and mosey your ass out of there.
Also, like, just morph a flea and land on Tom. Like, it seems...
We also said fly. Yeah, we're like, just morph a fly.
But at least a flea, you can't... I mean, like, you can't really see a flea. Like, really.
Yeah, it's true.
But a fly, you can kind of
This is a plot. Plot from Megamorphs 1. Axe morphs a flea to escape a cage. Like,
man, that means he had to just hold a flea at one point to acquire its DNA. He found a flea and was like, hold it.
Yeah,
Got it. Nailed it. Let the flea go.
Right before Tom opens up the door, Jake is doing like, I don't know what he's throwing, but he's throwing
it's his belt.
something. Oh, it's his belt.
Yeah, he takes off his belt.
He's whipping his belt and he hits the light bulb and explodes the light bulb. So it's dark inside his cage.
And also it takes him like 12 attempts to break that light bulb, which is pretty goddamn pathetic.
It's pretty high up, Jared.
I think the weak and cowardly
I have broken
form...
so many goddamn light bulbs by accident. You know, or how easy it is to break a light bulb on purpose.
Maybe the weak and cowardly form was the Jake that he was all along.
Tom makes his way into like the now dark room, and it's like kind of wrestling with him. Visser 3 shows up, and he's like, "Oh, now I got him!" And it turns out Jake morphed Tom,
including his clothes.
Including his
clothes. He got the clothes on.
I always thought
somehow.
that was just a given because like Tobias morphed back in his leather jacket,
But that was from magic.
as opposed to the rest of this.
But I mean, like, that was from, like, disc magic. But, like, the morphing is not... I guess in the TV series, they kind of have to morph clothes because in the books, it's like, oh, yeah, you can't morph anything other than, like, really skin-tight clothing. And it's like, I bet you none of these actors would be okay with being like, yeah, it's the 24 episodes a season, but also for the majority of the time, we can see everything.
Yeah, just... everything.
Like, what's the casting call for this? Looking for 14-year-old children okay with skin-tight clothing.
Yeah.
Partial nudity. That would have gotten them on a couple of Canadian watch lists.
Yeah, that's the end of that episode. Thank fucking Christ.
There's a pretty good fast cuts between Visser 3 and the two Toms where it's like do 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 do.
Oh, there's like 80 of them.
There's so many. I hate these. And the synth at the very beginning when it does the recap is so loud and weird. I thought it was just bad room tone at first. Like I was just watching Birdemic or something and they didn't scrub the room tone.
Also, there's almost as many cuts in that little bit as there were when Jake and Marco were flying the soundboard back to Earth.
Oh yeah, that was that was a good episode.
Oh yeah, right.
I'd just like to say out loud before we watch the next one, I do think that this double Tom is refreshingly clever. I think this is a great place to end an episode. And yeah, it's a lot better writing than I honestly expected out of this show. And I 100% expect them to drop the ball next episode. Like, immediately.
Immediately, probably.
A more on tone or on quality ending would have been like the White Lion again. Just like walks out. There's a shitty fight with way too many cuts that make no sense, and then he just gets away.
The White Lion just like knocks them into the pool and escapes. Yeah, no, it's way more hijinksy for sure. And I actually thought the Yeerk plan of getting the kids into the basement because of a tornado warning was pretty clever.
Let's talk about the real maybe meat of this episode, which is how much money would it take for one of you guys to let me morph a Yeerk and go into your head for a day?
You?
Specifically, Mikhail.
Ooh.
And I'm making no promises about what information I'll view or what I will make you do, other than I won't do anything that will, like, you'll wake up dead or in jail or something like that.
Sorry, is the question how much money?
Or something other than money that I could give you.
In all fairness, I'd like to point out that I would pay money not to go into Braden's head.
I know it's forcing you.
$200,000.
Okay, that's a solid number.
That's a decent number.
Here's the thing. I have some sick shit in my head. I am ashamed of none of it.
Well, that's it. Also, I feel like I know like a lot of it already, and if I don't, I'm not sure I want to know anymore.
That's the thing. Like, I'm terrified of what I know. I'm even more terrified of what I don't know.
Okay. How about Jared and Tessa? I know y'all aren't millionaires.
I think I would need like $2 million. I don't trust Mikhail. There's a lot of things you can get me to do that would not involve me being dead or in jail that I do not want to do. And one of those is smoke cigarettes.
Okay, yeah. The most immoral act.
That's Mikhail's endgame.
He's actually the heir to a cigarette empire and people haven't been buying.
Mikhail Marlboro is his last name.
No, you can't share last names.
It's interesting that, like, the thing you don't want me to do is, like, control your body to do something and not, like sift through your memories.
I mean, I also don't want you to do that. I've done some shady stuff. Wait, or have I?
Mine won't be nearly as high because I have very poor memory, so good luck, Mikhail. If you can find something, go hard.
What's your dollar amount there, Jared?
Shit, what was Braden's? 200,000?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm a cheap bitch. Let's go with 50 grand.
Fucking not a problem. Let me sell my house, BRB.
We're moving. We gotta go.
Yeah, also, I need to somehow get the ability to become an alien slug from this show I watched.
Have you tried touching discs? Just go to your closest HMV and find the warmest disc.
We didn't talk about that. That where she touches the disc and she's like, "It's warm," and it's like, "Yeah, it was in his pocket."
It's got it's got a processing power of like 5, so that's all from making the disc spin around.
5 what's now?
You know.
5 units of processing power, Jared. Jesus, keep up.
5 gigaflops.
Read a book, Jared.
Read a book. Read a book. Read a motherfucking book.
Yeah, I'm a cheap bitch, so root around in there. Like I said, if you find something, feel free.
Because the thing that, like, that they sort of don't address, and why would they address it, but it's like, I know Rachel doesn't really... I think there's more of this in the next episode, obviously, because she's still in his head, but she would know like what he looks like naked, what he always looked like since he could remember.
How often he thinks of just fucking railing her as a hawk.
As a hawk?
As a hawk.
With what? He doesn't have a dick.
I was never a 13-year-old boy, but my other co-hosts were, and you probably maybe had some thoughts then you wouldn't want your girlfriend looking at.
Everything from that era is buried so deep that I don't even think Michaela in my head could find it.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that, like, if anyone thought I was serious about it, I would probably go to jail.
I would be like death penalty in Canada.
That's saying a lot.
Which they don't even have.
For an example, don't know why you thought of Canada, but it's just an example.
Yeah.
Oh, just an example.
It's because they don't have the death penalty.
Honestly, I thought Canada was fictional. So
that makes sense. Okay, we gotta shout out the obvious OTP of Rachel and Tobias. They are thirsty for each other.
I was totally expecting like the first thing Tobias says when he like sees Rachel, like, quick, well, I still have a penis.
He probably was thinking that, honestly.
You know what? They probably made that joke so much on set to the point it was inappropriate.
Where it's like, oh, she penetrated me before I penetrated her. Penetration is a funny word. Okay, next week we're going to talk about Face Off Part 3, the last Face Off that aired like 6 or 7 months after this one did, so that cliffhanger better pay off. What do you guys think is going to happen?
I think both the Toms are gonna get in a hilarious fight that they're gonna have to like sub in, like you can't green screen both Toms, right? But they're still gonna have to have it where you don't actually see their face, but they're gonna be punching each other, and Visitor 3 is just gonna be like stop it, you're both imbeciles, and is so over it.
I mean, that would be good. Like, but in like a cartoon, like an anime way where like they both do the exact same punch at the exact same time, and they like
fighting your clone hijinks are always great. Because
everyone knows that in a fight, if you're fighting your exact self, you would do mirror images of your opponent. That's how that works. And believe me, I've done a lot of that.
I have only ever fought myself.
Oh, getting dark,
Ooh,
getting deep.
Existential. I like it.
No, that was just a joke for masturbation, guys. You just missed it.
Oh.
There's a reason the church calls it self-abuse.
My prediction is Tom jerks off the other Tom, because it's not gay if you do it to yourself.
Oh, so similar to mine.
Just borrowing some friction from a friend.
Yeah, that is what my bumper sticker says. So. Wow, that got quite a reaction. Shit. I was not expecting that.
Okay, my prediction. Pretty much the same as episode 2, but for 20 minutes.
Yeah. I think that's probably the most scarily accurate prediction we're going to get.
Just going to be the exact same thing, but a little bit different.
Guess what? The game is going to come up at some point and be irrelevant as usual.
You lost the game. Oh, sorry, Jake. You lost the game. Oh, Marco. That's one thing that I don't think we've brought up enough. That, like, as a TV show, we've had a lot more of these, like, really genuine feeling moments of friendship between, like, Marco and Jake. Like, in books, like, exchanges like that can get so wordy, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, in a TV show with actual human interaction, they can be so small and, like, no, you're an asshole. Now you're an asshole. Get out of that trash can. You get out of that trash can.
Like, remember when they kept stealing the fry from each other?
Yeah.
Like, that was really cute. And actually also really good. And
I don't even remember that part.
Man, you weren't lying about a bad memory.
I know.
Is that it for predictions? Anyone else have got a prediction in this?
God, I honestly have no clue. I've got a funny feeling that, like, Rachel is gonna like explode into Tobias's brain, and he's
Yeah.
like, I have to turn into a hawk now or I'll die.
Oh my god, imagine, right, this entire series has actually been a red herring. Like, Tobias doesn't actually get a character arc. We just get to see a brutal, like, head explosion, and Rachel is just, like, has to live with having killed her boyfriend.
The one episode it becomes R-rated, and that's it.
That's why the show stopped. They were like, guys, we can't show a fucking teenager getting, like, destroyed from the inside out. We just can't do it. You're canceled. I'm sorry.
Whew.
That's about it for me.
Jared, where can we find you on the internet?
You can follow me wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, anything like that. Also at collectivelegacy.org under the Two Nerds in a Basement headline, or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz. Two Nerds in a Basement across the board.
You can find more of our stuff at our Fanimorphs page at collectivelegacy.org, or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'll slither in your boyfriend's ear and explode.
Ooh. How do you know about my boyfriend? You can show your support for our show at our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
We offer special bonuses for our patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and much more.
We like to give a shout out to our patrons at the Dork-Bajir level or higher by giving them an Animorphs style title, starting with...
A big thank you to Michael Armenta, the second Tom.
Zachary Vaudo, Cotton Swabbed, Anti-Candrona Yeerk.
Martha Urquhart, the Pocky Bowl.
Andrew Vila, the Meme King.
Greg Della Posta, the laser grid on the cell to my heart.
Shanna, just being thrown into the Yeerk pool and you getting reinfested.
Anne-Marie Ellis, the filter.
Elamist, I don't want to go into that basement.
Steam driven, my warm disc.
Mariah Wamby, that tornado warning.
Nick, semen.
Sorry, Nick, I guess. Thanks for your money, though.
Anyanka, I didn't go to that basketball game, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, weird. All my friends are acting totally different. But the basketball game must really change them.
The basketball game was the shit. I don't know what really happened, but...
Yeah, I guess basketball is cool at school now.
For the Fanimorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the guy wearing a Naruto headband over a flat brim.
And I'm Jared, the one who's probably going to borrow that hat from Braden.
Yeah. And this has been Fashion Morphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Can we do like a Queer Eye Animorphs version?
Wait. Which homosexual archetypes are each of us? I want to be the guy who does the, like, social stuff.
You are so not Karamo.
Check your attitude, Jared.
Hi, hello, welcome to the ad for the show. I'm Mitch, the host of Wank Talk Radio. On this show, I talk to interesting people about interesting things. Do you need to know more than that? Okay, fine. Pretty much we'll talk about whatever my guest is interested in or passionate for. Sometimes it'll be silly, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit of both. Whatever the topic is, hopefully we'll find a way to make you that much more of an expert about it. You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, along with some other equally awesome shows on our network. New episodes of Wank Talk Radio are every Sunday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcasts. Let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wank Talk Radio. That's WENGH Talk Radio.
Wank Talk Radio.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.